perspectives in reframing the metaphor. And it is to be presented by Dr. Victor Baron. Prepare to be captivated by the extraordinary journey of Dr. Baron, a healer whose path defies conventional labels. With a background that spans prestigious institutions like Stanford, the University of Michigan, and the LaSalle Medical and Health Sciences Institute. He has also delved deep into the world of traditional healing practices, studying plant medicine alongside shamans in the Amazon. His quest of knowledge has taken him from humanitarian work in Latin America to the front lines of the pandemic in the Philippines, where he served as a resident doctor and later as a flight doctor, evacuating patients around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all warmly welcome our first speaker, Dr. Victor Baron.
Pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you for having me. So I'm Dr. Victor Baron. I'm here to challenge the conventional understanding of crab mentality, also known as the crab bucket effect. Right? It's a mentality, for better or worse, that has been ingrained into our Filipino culture, our psyche, for some time now. And I'm here not to interpret the meaning of the phenomenon or the effect that it's had on our society. Rather, I am here to share with you a neurobiologist's perspective on this effect. So for a little bit of audience participation, if you could all please make a finger heart gesture. All right. So, if you have ever felt like a victim of crab mentality at work, school, home, or society, you don't have to go just in here. All right. And then, now, could you all please make a hand heart gesture with your neighbor if you've ever accidentally been the crab?
I am a crab.
Don't worry, we've all been there. Okay. So there might be more crab mentality that meets the eye. So a gentle reminder that correlation is not causation. Meaning, just because two things happen together at the same time, it doesn't mean that one caused the other. So in science, this is particularly important to remember that finding a link between two things isn't enough to say that one causes another. You need more evidence and careful experimentation to prove causation. Except in the case of classical conditioning. So for those that are unfamiliar with this experiment, this is Pavlov's famous dog experiment, where he used a neutral stimulus in the form of a bell to elicit a conditioned response, salivation in a dog. Okay? So once the dog started to hear the bell, then they started to salivate when he associated it with food. All right? And this bell, initially a neutral stimulus, became a conditioned stimulus afterwards. So in general, while correlation is not causation, holds true for most scientific research, classical conditioning is an exception where correlation does imply causation. So I spent a greater portion of my pre-medical career, almost a decade, inside a behavioral neuroscience laboratory in Ann Arbor, Michigan, studying the theories of addiction by surgically implanting cranial cannulas into rats, and then infusing chemicals into specific brain regions, and then modifying their behavior and studying their brains. So that was a bit quick. So in case you missed it, this is a still shot, right, that depicts the CS, or the conditioned stimulus, being a bell and then a lever, all right? And the rat on the left, these are two separate rats. The rat on the left, once there's a conditioned stimulus, their conditioned response is to gnaw, press, or attack the lever. Whereas the rat on the right, their conditioned response is to, or its conditioned response is to go directly to the food cup where the reward is. And many of these experiments. So we also see this. You can run this experiment yourself if you have any pets. For classical conditioning all around us, right? So this is a video of a cat that is stopping whatever it's doing to go to its automatic feeder as soon as it hears the sound of the feeder. Right? So my cats do the same thing. Now, what about the case of crab mentality? Here we have crabs in a bucket, right? Where the pincers, they aren't wrapped with elastic bands that we normally see in the wet market. Okay? But what are they actually doing? Are they trying to get out? What orientation are they in? Are they pulling at each other? So as far as we know, the existing interpretation of crab mentality, as from an observer's perspective, is that crabs pull each other down, right? When they're attempting to go up and out of the bucket. But what about from the perspective of the crab? That may not be the right way of describing it. So I theorize that the conditioned stimulus, or the CS here, is the bucket. And the conditioned response is the act of pulling the other crabs down with their pincers, or climbing on top of one another to get out of the bucket. So the bucket is not an act of God, right? It's a neutral stimulus. The crabs aren't endangered yet, right? However, this stimulus, over time and with repetition, will evoke a stress response, right? Also known as, or for example, a fight or flight response. So moving on to crabs some more and their behaviors. How do crabs actually move? Anyone? How do crabs move? Yeah, they actually move, correct. They move sideways, not up and down. So they scuttle is the term, right? Sideways. So what does this mean? Are they really pulling each other down when they're in the bucket? Could it possibly mean something else? So now continuing to shift perspectives. This is the crab with the POV camera on its head, right? Now entering the water. Where is up for this crab? Okay. Where is down for this crab? Where is sideways? What does success mean for this crab? What does failure mean for this crab? Where is safety and where are the dangers? What happens to the crab when they're in their natural habitat, when they are not under threat or in survival mode? And what happens when they encounter other neutral stimuli or even noxious stimuli? They aggregate. So this is an image of crabs aggregating, or in Tagalog, sabay-sabay. And it was previously theorized that aggregation was done for mating purposes. Okay. However, novel research from the Victoria Museum of Melbourne suggests that crabs aggregate for molting purposes. Okay. So furthermore, the researchers also found that out of tens of thousands of these crabs, only the odd couple were actually mating. So where would crabs rather be? Okay. Are they pulling each other down? Occasionally is what we observe. And why is this the case? Because there are predators, okay? So what was observed is that senior crabs with more experience and tougher, harder shells are typically located above the younger, more novice crabs with softer shells. The harder shell crabs climb on top of the softer shell crabs to protect them while they are molting. Because when they're molting, they're in a very vulnerable state. Otherwise, if they do not climb on top of them, then they pull the softer shell crabs down. So in short, the dangers for possible humans could be down, whereas the dangers for crabs are actually, in fact, up. They need to aggregate and come together, otherwise it would be even more challenging for them to molt. So what is molting? So crabs primarily molt to grow and develop. Their hard exoskeleton, or shell, doesn't expand. So they need to shed it periodically and create a new one, a larger one, to accommodate their increasing size. So this is a video that was also trending online and captured by a fisherman who posted it, of the rare sighting of crabs actually molting outside of the ocean. So it's a little bit graphic, so my apologies, but maybe not as graphic as that of the negative imagery of crabs inside a bucket. So molting serves other purposes as well. Okay? And these include to repair and regenerate their limbs in case they're injured, as well as to remove parasites, barnacles, toxins from their body, and shell maintenance or overall health. So in essence, molting is actually a very crucial process for crabs, enabling them to grow, maintain shell integrity, and ensure their overall health. Right? So now, can you imagine what they are actually doing when they are aggregating? So what's really going on here? Possibly the attitude or behavior of the crab is really the opposite of the existing metaphor of crab mentality. This has taken me almost a decade of being back here in the Philippines as a Bayan, spending countless hours freediving in our oceans, to finally realize that crabs may have been maligned. Okay. I believe we've been unfair to crabs. We have previously had this negative perspective, when in reality, what they've been doing is quite noble. If only we approach situations with a little bit more curiosity, compassion, and creativity, we could possibly shift our perspective to a positive one. So, now if I could please ask for your participation again to help me reframe this existing metaphor. I'll give you 30 seconds to aggregate, sabay-sabay come together, to please converse with your neighbor to come up with a new name for the metaphor. Okay? 2 words, some of the words that were, or images that were previously described and discussed. Okay? We have 30 seconds. Would you guys be able to talk either on your table or with people around you?
Group walk. Group walk. Krav Maga. Krav Maga.
Ano pa ba? I would say
Ano to eh, para siyang crab, ano yung mga crab Woodstock.
Mosh pit, crab mo.
Pero galing yan, like changing together.
Has it been 30 seconds?
Oh, it's been 30. Okay, so time's up. Okay. So did you guys come up with 2 novel words? Okay. Okay, what are they? Right? So we're gonna shed these 2 old terms, and can you guys share with me some of the 2 new words you came up with? Sorry. You can shout them out. It's fine. What was that? Okay. All right. So here we have a bunch of new possibilities, right? I heard
Crab Woodstock. I'm old.
So after, again, more than a decade of being in another behavioral neuroscience lab that I call the Philippine Islands, I finally came up with this. So what does this mean? Crabs molt their shells to grow, symbolizing the shedding of old and limiting beliefs. This phrase suggests a transformative mindset that embraces change and growth, even in the face of negativity. So it could inspire individuals to break free from crab mentality, as we previously know it, and now they can reach their highest potential. So coming back to a little bit more biology and neuroscience. Again, crabs molt primarily to grow, repair, regenerate, for the removal of parasites, toxins, disease, and shell maintenance, or overall crab health. So why is this useful to us? So here is an example of crab mentality as we previously knew it. It's a meme that was shared and trending during the last Bagyo Karina. So if you guys haven't seen it, and for the non-Filipino Tagalog speakers, up top is baha, which means flooding or flood. The next word is iyak, which is to cry or to feel sorry for oneself, to have a victim behavior or attitude. Next, donation drive or bayanihan is our form of cooperation, team building. Then we have calls for change, and then kalimot, which means to forget. And then boto sa trabaho means to vote for a dirty old rag. Yeah, no climate and flood control projects. So, how do we break from this cycle? Well, maybe we can take a lesson from the animal kingdom and our crustacean friends. So many animals undergo molting, actually, which is the shedding of their outer layers, such as feathers, hair, birds, sheep, skin, right? Or exoskeleton, like snakes, crickets, so they can grow bigger or prepare for the next life stage. It is a critical event in the life cycle of an organism, says Donald Michaels, a biologist at Colorado State University, where I got these crab illustrations from. But molting wouldn't be safe or feasible if crabs did not aggregate together. So, like crabs, we become more resilient when we are together. We become tougher. We are stronger when we are together, when we aggregate, or sabay-sabay. Another example of this is when a female crab is molting and the male crab embraces and protects her the entire time that she's molting. So The next time you're with your significant other, remember you are there for them during their transformation. So aggregation, or sabay, unites everyone to help each other succeed, turning a negative into a positive. So molting is the shedding of old and making room for the new, and this may include shedding of old habits, mindsets, and behaviors. Things that we got used to doing, even though we knew that they were not right. So using this new perspective, from old crab mentality to the new molting mindset, this is what this could look like now. So, can you all read this with me? Again from the top. Kapwa. We have accountability and responsibility, not victimhood. Cooperation, mobilized community, and bayanihan. Resiliency, or the molting mindset. To learn, unlearn, relearn. And then, once more, sabay-sabay. Boto sabay. So by helping each other and returning to our core Filipino values, those things that the immigrants, my parents, took with them, and not the negative ones like kanya-kanya, which is a Western individualism of being on your own. By helping yourself, we take responsibility, we do something about it, like planting trees, mobilizing the community. We cooperate, we be more proactive instead of continuing to play the victim. We do something. So let's empower one another. So, again, what can we gain from molting? How could we molt for the better or shed bad habits? So, thank you very much to this community for this opportunity. Giving me to allow me to share my thoughts on the matter. I'm grateful for your earlier participation. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. I hope you've learned a new framework to shift perspectives and relearn alternate conceptions of the world around us. See you at the next multi-mindset aggregation, and don't pull each other down, pull each other together.